Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Awesome Cast. It's an awesome interview. That's why I'm here. And that's also why I'm joined by the multi-talented Marrisa Lenti. Marrisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm happy that we're here. So things got crazy for a minute, but we're here
Mhm,
now.
mhm.
So, let's just start with where I usually start these things. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've got going on that you're able to talk about.
Sure. Well, I'll just do like a little intro, I guess.
Yeah.
My name's Marissa Lenti. I've been a voice actress for nearly a decade now. Oh my God. And I am also a voice director and ADR scriptwriter, mostly on anime, and mostly at Sound Cadence Studios. Some of my big titles are Borderlands 3, Dragon Ball Super, Fairy Tail, One Piece. That's sort of the deal. Did a little bit on Pokemon recently. I'm very excited about that. Currently, I'm working on many secret projects that I can't talk about yet. I've got one show coming up that I've been working on for a really long time at this point. And then Gunbuster, a dub that I just finished directing, is coming out in a couple months on Blu-ray, and people can finally pre-order it. So that's kind of a very, very general overview of like where I came from, what I do, who I am, and what I'm doing right now.
And I'm gonna jump in off the top rope here because there was one thing that got announced very recently.
Mm.
You're coming back as Sister Jill for Cutie Honey.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that one. What a surprise, right? Because I
Yeah.
did Cutie Honey Universe at Sentai Filmworks with David Wald, and then Sound Cadence got a Cutie Honey thing. And we were like, well, we could just have David Wald do it and use most of the Cutie Honey Universe cast, which includes me as Sister Jill. So this, studio that I work at all the time just so happened to acquire a show where I was a cast member already. So weird. It almost never happens like that. So it was really, tickled me to see. I was like, oh, I get to come back.
Yeah.
Great. You know?
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. I don't know if shows like Cutie Honey are big enough for your nephew who was shit talking you back at
Oh, he could
Thanksgiving, but
not watch Cutie Honey yet.
no, that's the thing you gotta tell him. It's like, no, I'm in some big stuff. You're just not old enough yet.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, he was giving me, the raking me over
Yeah,
the
giving
coals,
you the business.
but like Pokemon, he was like, "Oh, like Pokemon, that's like a big deal." So like he gives me some allowances. He's like, "Yeah, Pokemon, I guess." But like his favorite anime is Naruto. So he's just like, "When are you gonna be in Naruto?" And I'm like, "I wish I knew. I don't have control over that." But like I'm like, "Why don't you start watching Dragon Ball? Like I'm in Dragon Ball. You can watch that one. Is it I think you'd like it." They were in Fortnite too, and he's just like, "Yeah, maybe." But like everything that he could potentially be interested in these shonen action shows, which are a big time commitment. So
Yeah.
I can understand like why he's not interested. He's starting his own business right now. He's
Wow.
doing he's going around to schools and doing reptile presentations. He brings like 10 reptiles in boxes, cages, and he shows like littler kids these reptiles and like gives them facts and stuff. He did a demonstration for us over Christmas. It was really good. So like being like, oh, like sit down and watch this like million episode anime. Like I'm in One Piece, and he's like, that's like a commitment for
It's
him.
like
So like
nobody's got time for that.
he picked Naruto and he's sticking with it, and I can respect that because I'm the same way. I've only ever watched like a couple shonens in my time, despite working in the anime industry. I was
Yeah,
like Hunter x Hunter, that's my one, and I'll watch that one, and then everything else, I'm like, I don't have time. It's too much.
that's fair. That's fair.
It's
You
a
know,
lot
there's
of
there's a
episodes.
there's literally 1,000 episodes of One Piece. What can you do?
Yeah, and I've watched One Piece. Like I watched the beginning, like 100 episodes or whatever, and then I skipped to the episodes that I'm in, and I watched all of those, and I was like, great, I've seen One Piece, I think. And even shows that I'm like personally a fan of. Like I love Detective Conan, but I have not seen all 1,000 episodes of Detective Conan. I've seen like 300 maybe, which is still a lot of anime. But it's not the whole thing even though I love it. So I can understand being like, unless I'm like really interested, I'm not going to watch 1,000 episode shonen. It's like, okay, fair enough.
That's fine. All right. So let, let's pull back from the anime
let's
for a minute.
let's interview real
Yeah,
quick
well,
instead of just talking about anime.
yeah, we could do that for a while. What made you first take an interest in acting?
So when I was a kid, I was trying a lot of stuff because I couldn't really nail down like what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I was doing horseback riding and karate and violin, and I played the flute and like all kinds of different stuff. And one of those things that I did was acting. I did a bunch of theater. I was in like school plays, obviously, but I also did theater outside of school. I did like community theater and I was in a couple like acting courses. I did musical theater. I eventually started taking like film acting courses. And I was just kind of, out of all of the extracurriculars that I was doing, it was one of the ones that was sticking with me. I was like, I really like this. And then around about, I don't know, my teenage years, I was like, "Oh, actually, I hate being perceived." I didn't wanna be seen on camera. I didn't wanna be seen on stage. I was like, "No." And I stopped acting, for, like, a hot minute. It wasn't until I got to college that I was there for a totally different major and realized I didn't wanna be doing that major either, and I was like, "I can't still not know what I wanna do with my life in college. Like, this is awful." I could not figure out what job I wanted to do. And then I mentioned Detective Conan. My roommate had showed me the Case Closed dub. Like it was her birthday and she was like, "We get to do what I want to do. Let's watch Case Closed." And I was like, "Oh, this is really good actually." And then my second thought was, "Hey, those the actors playing the English voices, I mean, that's an acting gig where they don't have to be seen." That's kind of like what I was looking for back when I was a kid and I was doing acting. And so then I did research into, what it takes to be a voice actor, and that's kind of the long and short of the history of that.
Wow. So it was just like, oh, here we go. This is my chocolate and peanut butter. I can.
Yeah, I was searching and searching and searching for like my dream job, and I could not figure it out as a kid for the life of me. And then it was, I finally found a version of a thing that I had done when I was a kid where I was like, I liked that thing, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Oh, I found the version that's exactly what I wanted?"
So as you started to pursue that, what were some of the challenges for you?
Well, first things first, I had to move to Texas,
Yeah.
which was a lot for, I grew up in New York and I was going to college in Massachusetts. So I was not that far from my friends and family, like they could still drive and visit me. It was very familiar to me as far as like the kind of city it was. I was like, this is basically, it's similar enough to New York. I'm
Yeah.
sure people from Massachusetts and New York are shaking their heads right now, but it's similar enough, it's got a similar climate, a similar, like it's just like, yeah, okay. It gives you that New England vibe regardless of which state you're in. And again, my parents could drive and visit me. It was like a 4-hour drive and they were there. But I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm going to move to Texas." And that was really scary because I had nobody living there that I knew, at least at the time that I first moved. Um, I had never lived in a southern state before. I'd never lived in such a warm state before. Oh my god. It's so hot there. And I just had no support network. So, when I moved there, I got a job at GameStop actually to support me for the year, the first year that I was living there. And then I was like, if I'm still working retail in like 3 years time, I'll give up, right? Thankfully, after about a year, I started working at Funimation doing voice acting. But it was scary, and I was fresh out of college too, so I was budgeting for myself for the first time, and budgeting is one thing, but budgeting as a voice actor, like doing your taxes, freelancing is like it's a whole other kettle of fish that it's like a separate skill set from just being an adult and living on your own. It's like now you're an adult living on your own and you're freelancing. That's like a whole other thing. So I had to learn all about that. And I was in a apartment by myself for the first time. I had to get used to that. I had to somehow make friends and connections and meet people in the industry. And I couldn't figure it out at first. I was like, how do I do this? And eventually I figured out like, oh, I got to go to cons and like meet people at cons and then be like, by the way, I'm a voice actor and I'm local. Like, okay. And then, eventually you start getting introduced to everybody else. But it took me a minute to figure that out. So, I'm standing there in a GameStop being like, how do become a voice actor? I live in Texas now and I don't know anybody and what's going on? So that certainly was a challenge. Surprisingly, the actual voice acting part of it was not that big of a challenge. It was scary and nerve-wracking, absolutely. The first couple things I auditioned for and the first couple things I recorded for, I was like, "Oh god, don't screw this up." But, like, everybody was so nice and welcoming and inviting. Once I got in there, it wasn't so bad. It was figuring out how that was really the hardest part.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, just like you said, you're in unfamiliar territory
Yeah.
with no support system,
Mm-mm.
you know, and as much time as I've spent in GameStop in my life, I know that's not exactly a high paying gig.
Yeah, I mean, it's retail, right? Retail
Yeah.
is retail. I enjoyed it for sure, but I was like, counting my money, being like, how long can I stay in Texas without any success, right? And still live. Thankfully, I did move with a decent amount of savings because before that, I was a cosplayer and I did cosplay commissions. So I actually had savings from making costumes for people. I had saved all of that in a bank account since like the age of 15. I had been
Wow.
saving. Yeah, I opened that business at 15 and started making cosplay commissions and plushie commissions, and I had saved all that up. So I like I said, I had like it was like a 3-year deadline or something where I was like, I can live in this Texas apartment with no income for like 3 years and like be okay. Or like it wasn't that much, but it was like plus my GameStop income. I was like, savings plus GameStop equals, 2 years or three or however many years it was. So I gave myself a deadline where I was like, that's how long I can survive. But it's scary to think about all of your money potentially draining away while you try and become a voice actor. Like it's like, oh boy, okay, let's see how it goes.
Well, I commend you on your courage, and I'm
Thanks.
so grateful that it worked out for you.
Yeah. I don't live in Texas anymore, but the 5 years that I was there really was very formative for me because not only is it the apotheosis of my career, the beginning of it, it is I met a lot of people there who really helped guide me and uh, you know, whether or not I continued pursuing voice acting was dependent on how Texas went, right? And it went great, and people there were really nice and really supportive, and now I live in LA, still pursuing voice acting, but out here, which is crazy to me. I never would have expected. And of course, my family was like, "You're moving even further away? Come on,"
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, who are some of the people that have impacted your career?
absolutely. Got to give one of the biggest shout outs to Tyler Walker. He's the voice director at Funimation, now Crunchyroll, who took the first chance on me when I was still just a bab insisting that I wanted to be a voice actor. He brought me in for fairy tale auditions. I got to audition for one of the characters, didn't book it. Then he brought me in to do additional voices on Tokyo ESP, which was a show he was working on at the time. That was my first time doing additional voices. And then he did actually book me on Fairy Tale, but as a different character, as Libra, which even now, you know, 8+ years later is still one of my most well-recognized roles that people come up to me at cons about. They're like, "Oh my god, Libra." And I'm like, "That was my first role, believe it or not." And they're always surprised. So Tyler really gave me the building blocks for my career, number 1, and then number 2, was the first person to really trust me. Um, Second, definitely Joel McDonald. He cast me in One Piece as Mistress Sadie, again when I was very, very new, and so he was taking a chance on me there. And then, years later, he put me in Borderlands 3 as Moze, which is, I think, probably my most famous role, my most recognized role, and also is the role that got me unionized. It got me to be a union actor because it's a union game. Um, oh my God, completely changed my career with that. Huge deal. And also loved that role and streamed that game while while the DLCs were coming out. And a lot of I guess my fan base, I would call it, like the people that I know who really follow my work and are really supportive found me during that period where I was streaming on Twitch, and it was all about Borderlands 3. So really grateful for that. And then Aaron Dismuke, I would say, number 3. Absolutely. Because he taught me to write scripts. He taught me how to direct anime. My first time directing anime was as an assistant director on one of his shows. And he was very encouraging when I was you know, at a point where I was like, I don't know, like, is it going well? Am I doing a good job? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? He was like super encouraging during that time. So like those 3, huge impacts on my career.
I love Aaron Dispute so
Isn't
much.
he the best?
I he was a regular at Hamicon when that was still around,
Mm,
and I've talked to him several times, and he is a riot. He is
I
so
love
much fun to
him.
be around.
Love him. And
Like
again, like I was
you're talking about him guiding you through some of the through like writing and some of these things. I'm like, I can't picture Aaron staying serious enough to walk anyone through anything.
you no, he is though. He's just a fun guy, but also it was a good mentor. I can't thank him enough for, again, like I was learning how to ADR write, and I have a writing background. I actually went to college for creative writing before I switched to theater studies. And I was like, here's my writing. And he gave me like critiques on the scripts that I did. And like, um, when it came time for like Nanbaka came around, and that's the show that I was in where he was directing it. And he was like, do you want to be the AD? Like, you want to learn how to do this? I was like, yeah. So I got to like sit behind him and shadow and watch him direct, and then finally hop into the chair myself and do part of the show. And like that was huge for me. So yeah, even if you don't get that vision of him through just meeting him because he's such a fun guy, he was one of my mentors.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm curious, you've had such an interesting journey and you've taken on so many different roles. What keeps you motivated?
Great question. I guess, I mean, I just love anime, right? I
Hell yeah.
it's easy to get demotivated in this industry because
Yeah.
you so often are just banging your head against the wall trying to see what works.
Yeah.
Because the competition's very fierce and there's only so many roles to go around, and as much as anyone can be talented, you still have to continuously meet new people, introduce yourself, get your work out there. Hey, you've never heard of me, but like, I swear I've been doing this for a long time. Like, please consider me for this, that, or the other. And it can be very easy to be like, I don't want to audition. I don't want to sit in a booth and record auditions for another hour today or 2 hours today. I'm tired. You get
Yeah.
very tired. But I look at those opportunities that are in my inbox and I go, I don't want to miss out on this. I love anime and video games and, the stuff that I work on. So I'm like, you gotta, I guess the motivation factor is the FOMO, the potential FOMO of like, if you skip out on this stuff, like it could be like your next favorite thing that you ever worked on. And you won't know unless you keep banging your head against that wall as much as it sucks. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to miss out on my next favorite anime that I worked on. I don't want to miss out on my next favorite game I could have worked on. So I got to keep going. Even when I'm at my most demotivated, I'm like, you got to keep going because you don't want to miss out. It could be the project that like, you know, really sparks something, where you're like, oh my God, like I'm so invigorated by how much I love this. So you don't want to miss out.
Yeah. And that's something I just really respect you and other actors for is just, if you've ever heard someone talk about baseball, they'll tell you that if you hit the ball 3 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. But the ratio for that with acting is way lower.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if you booked 3 out of every 10 roles, you'd be working 24/7.
nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's way the success rate is way lower than
Yeah,
that.
it's more like 1 out of 100. If you're getting 1 out of 100, you're a working actor. Maybe you're not one of the big boys, but you're doing all right.
Right.
But yeah, it's again very easy to get demotivated. The good news is I'm not just an actor. I'm also a director and a writer. So, in periods where I have no acting work going on, I usually have something else that I'm working on. Directing especially is like the love of my life. I love it so much. It's so much fun. Um, it's like being an actor in that you get to be involved in anime and video games, but you get to give everybody else work and like assemble a cast of people and see them through a thing, and you're just like, "Oh my god, it's my favorite. It's my favorite." So, as long as I have something to direct, even if acting is quiet, and it does have its like, around the holidays it gets really quiet, and around the summer it gets really quiet weirdly. Like we're on summer break, even though that's not a thing. I don't know why. It just does that. But when I'm in those slow periods for acting, if I'm directing something, I'm perfectly content and I can keep going, no problem.
That's that's just incredible. But what are some of the things that you do outside of acting, directing, writing to recharge yourself, to keep yourself going?
I play video games a lot. Actually my Switch is right here. It's just off to the side. Mostly Pokemon is what I'm playing. Exactly. Mostly I'm playing Pokemon. Mostly I'm shiny hunting, actually. I just finally like put all of my shinies into a checklist to see how many I have. And I have, including evolutions. So, I only have a Venusaur. I don't have like Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur, but just my Venusaur, I check off all three. Doing it that way, I have almost 50% of the entire national dex, excluding Gen 9 Pokemon. So it's a little bit less, I'm sure. But like that's like my thing that I do when I'm not working is I'm shiny hunting. So that and that's kind of it. I also watch a lot of YouTube, and I go on my other friends' Twitch streams, just hang out with them. My therapist has gotten mad at me for not having enough out of work hobbies. She's like, you need more hobbies. But I'm plenty busy just with those things. Like
Yeah.
between work, shiny hunting, and being on my friends' streams, that takes up an entire day every day. So I'm like, well, I could have more hobbies, but also I'm kind of busy.
Yeah.
But a little bit of shiny hunting here and there. I always have it going in the background actually. From my desk, you can see my TV. And I'll just have the Switch running over there. See if anything pops up so I can see it from here.
Well, Marissa, this has been wonderful. I really do appreciate your time. Before we let you go, where can people follow along with what you're doing?
Well, I am at Marrisa Lenti on almost everything. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, for the most part, it's at Marrisa Lenti. I think I'm at mlenti on Twitch, which I am going to be trying to stream more. I've been bad about it, but I am going to be trying to stream more. And also people can follow Sound Cadence if they want to see. That's the studio I work at as a director. Just see what all of us are up to. They announce, any new games or animes that we're working on are always on that account. So yeah, at Marrisa Lenti for the most part. And I post about everything that I'm up to. So if you follow me on socials, you'll be in the know, as it were. And I wish I could tell you like what to watch next that I'm working on, but it's still all pretty secret. But Cutie Honey is coming out, and Gunbuster is coming out. So soon, soon, soon.
Excited. Can't wait to see it all.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to yet another production of the AwesomeCast, your podcast for everything awesome. You can find us online at awesomecast.com, OSMcast.com, or, wherever you find your podcasts, just search for AwesomeCast. You can also find us on the social medias, AwesomeCast at Twitter or on Facebook. course, you can also find our wonderful interview guru, the greatest living interviewer, John Robbins, at J5isLive. Or perhaps you'd like to follow our amazing editor, Anna, at Angel Darkfire. Or just me, at It's Basil Time on Twitter. Our theme song is produced by DJ Inabito, and you can find him online at djinabito.com. And once again, thanks for listening to the Awesome Cast. We appreciate you.